y'all, welcome and welcome back to my channel. My name is Taya and this is Taya's Turning Pages. Before we get started with today's video, I just wanted to quickly say that I apologize if my mood or my energy is a little bit down in this one. I do not feel the best today, which is why I am wearing this hoodie. I just want to really be comfy and cozy. So again, apologies if my energy is a little bit off, but we're gonna get through this anyway because today I'm going to share all of the books that I want to unhaul. I mentioned in my last reading vlog where I read the first book in the Gossip Girl series. I will link that up above or down below in case you missed it and you didn't check it out yet. I definitely think you should if you are a fan of Gossip Girl. But I did mention in that video that I am moving next month, so in May, and because of that I need to unhaul and get rid of all of these books that I know I don't want to take with me into my new place. Let's ride. Let's ride. Let's ride. Let's ride. I haven't did an unhaul video or like an unhaul in general in 3 months, and it's not because I like to hoard books. It's honestly because I really think that I'm going to get to a lot of these books and I just never do. Like, that's really just the nature of the game. Like, I really think that I'm going to get to them and then I never end up doing it, and then I just kind of have these books sitting on my bookshelves. But I went through them last night and found a lot of books to get rid of, which is why you see the empty spaces over here and why some of these shelves look a little bit crazy. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. I'm going to try to organize this video by genre. If you guys watch my videos consistently, then you know I am good for a timestamp and I'm good for organizing my videos by category for the most part. So I'm going to try to do that here. We'll see how it goes. Now, some of these books of course are going to overlap when it comes to genre, but like, we're just gonna work with what we got essentially. So this category that I'm gonna start off with is, I think, fiction, but I think one of these books could also be a thriller, but we're just gonna say fiction. The first book that I have in this category is The White City by Karolina Ramkevitz, and this is actually a translated read, and I think this was translated from Swedish, but I did read this last year and I think I gave this like a 3 or a 3.5 out of 5 stars. It was okay, but I'm not gonna lie, this book was a little bit weird. I still don't really even know how to describe this book. I know for a fact that it does have themes of motherhood and like postpartum depression and just depression in general and anxiety. Our main character here, she actually is married to this man who I think is involved in like organized crime, and he ends up getting caught up and I think he ends up getting arrested or he dies. I don't think we ever really figure out what happened to him, but either way our main character is left alone with her child, and you just kind of follow her throughout this story of trying to really get back on her feet and really trying, I guess, her best to take care of herself and her child. Overall, this book was definitely strange in the sense that the writing style was very like fever dream-esque. I felt like a lot of the times I was getting confused and I was getting lost, and I don't know how to explain it, but the way that this book is written, like the dialogue itself, like for example when you're reading a book, it's not like, I'm going to the beach today, Taya said. Okay, have fun, mom said. It's not written like that. It's written like, I'm going to the beach today, she said. Okay, she said. And it keeps going on like that. You get confused by who is who, and there really aren't that many characters in this story anyway because you spend a lot of the time in the main character's head. But when there is a character introduced, you do get kind of confused. This wasn't my favorite read, and I will be donating this to my local thrift store or little library. I do want to read more translated reads from Sweden. I just don't know if this author is for me necessarily. And the last book that I have in this category is The Family by Naomi Krupski. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that, but this is actually a book of the month pick, and this was a November 2021 book of the month pick, and I was so excited when I originally picked this book up because I just thought that this was going to give me all of the mafia, like mobster-esque vibes that I was looking for when I read the synopsis of this book. I'm pretty sure this follows 2 best friends who are a part of families that are a part of the mob and the mafia and all of that, and you just follow them like throughout their lives and what it means to be a woman in the mafia essentially. So I read the first page of this and I could already tell that I was not going to vibe with the writing style. I know you guys are probably sitting there saying to yourselves like, why don't you just like read more, you might end up liking it, but honestly I can tell right off the bat if I'm going to vibe with the author's writing style or not, and I just know that I'm not really going to care for this one. And I did skim the book to see if it was going to kind of like remain that way, and it definitely did. So I just know I'm never going to really want to pick this one up. And this book didn't really receive the best reviews when it first debuted. Also, this is written in second person, and honestly I don't really read that many second person books. I actually just finished The Push by Ashley Aldrine. We'll talk about that more in my April wrap up, but I will just say that I think Ashley Aldrine executed that very well, but not everybody can do that, and I just feel like in here reading what I read, I just don't think I'm gonna vibe with it. So the next genre that I have here is nonfiction, and the first book that I have in this pile is Elizabeth and Margaret, The Intimate World of the Windsor Sisters by Andrew Morton. So right off the bat, let me just say that I love this cover, this pink with the gray background. I love it. So I did receive this book from Grand Central Publishing, so shout out to Grand Central for sending me this copy of this book. But I just know that I'm never going to read this one. I really don't have an interest in Queen Elizabeth or the royal family. The only like members of the royal family that aren't even members anymore, I don't think, that I like really like look into are Meghan and Harry, honestly. So I just know that I'm not going to pick this one up. The next book that I have in this pile is The Romanoff Sisters by Helen Rappaport, and this one I'm actually really sad about because I remember when I first saw this book, I was like, ooh, I'm gonna pick this one up because I just feel like I'm going to read it, because I have always been interested in the Romanoff family and also learning more in depth about the events that led up to their untimely demise. And like most people, I've always been interested in Anastasia because she was known as like the lost princess for a while, and I'm still not sure if they ever did recover her remains or not, but either way, I was really looking forward to this book. And honestly, y'all, this book is just too long. It is too long. When I did look through this book and like read a few pages, it's just really dense. And honestly, if I'm going to read a book like this, I'd rather just go on Audible and just listen to the audiobook, so that way I can get through it quicker and also just like have someone narrate it to me. And Helen Rappaport does have an audiobook for this where she narrates it herself, so I am going to listen to a sample to see if that will be better suited for me. But either way, I know I'm not going to read this physically. And the second to last book that I have in this pile is Living with Intent, My Somewhat Messy Journey to Purpose, Peace, and Joy by Malika Chopra. And I actually found this book when I was at my local Goodwill, and I think I only got this for 99 cents. I literally only got this for 99 cents. That's how these thrift stores get you when it comes to the book section. They have such good prices for their books where it's like 99 cents, $1, $2. So you're just like, ooh, and you know, you're picking them up, and then when you get home, you put them on your bookshelves, and then you never pick them up again. And that's literally what happened here. I actually bought this book when I first got my bookshelves, and I was just trying to fill out my bookshelves, and I thought I was going to read this one, but I just know for a fact I'm never going to. I've had this on my bookshelf for about a year at this point, and I never felt inclined to pick this up, even though it is very short. And I honestly don't even know what this is about. I think it does have themes of like motherhood, and also just like trying to, you know, live with intent, just like a self-discovery type of book, maybe a self-help book. I don't really know, but I just know I'm never going to pick this one up. But the cover is gorgeous, I will give them that. And the last book that I have in this pile is The Meaning of Mariah Carey by Mariah Carey. So I actually read this book last year. I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. This actually ended up on my favorite books of 2021 list. I will leave that video linked up above or down below in the description box. But I really did enjoy this book, and the only reason why I'm getting rid of it is because I don't need the physical copy. I was reading this physically, and then halfway through the book, I decided to switch to the audiobook because Mariah Carey narrates it herself, and the audiobook is immaculate. I loved every single thing about it. I will continue to rave about the audiobook because Mariah put her foot into that audiobook, okay? She sings, she does voice acting, and you just pick up on so many different cues and like tones and vibes that you wouldn't pick up on if you read this book physically. So if I do end up rereading this book again, I'd rather just go the audiobook route because I already own it through Audible. So yeah, I'm gonna give this one away, and hopefully someone else picks this up and enjoys it as much as I did. So now we're gonna move on to romance slash, I guess, more fiction and like historical fiction. This is honestly just like a hodgepodge mixed bag pile, but we're just gonna rock with it anyway. The first book that I have in this pile is Remember Me by Sophie Kinsella. So this is another thrift store find, and another one where I was sucked in because it was only like $1 or $2. I'm not sure how much it was, but it was very cheap. And I know that Sophie Kinsella is like a very popular author, and I think she was the one that wrote the Confessions of a Shopaholic series. I'm not 100% sure, I'm gonna double check that, but I think she wrote that series, and I really enjoyed the movie, but I never read the books. But I saw this when I was in the thrift store, and I really liked the title, and then I read the synopsis and I was like, ooh, this sounds interesting. But again, guys, I just don't think that I'm gonna pick this up, and I never felt inclined to pick this up when I was browsing my shelves. I honestly don't even really remember what this is about. I think this book is like in 5 years before in 5 years, in a way, where this woman like wakes up and she is living a different life than what she normally was, and like there's like romance involved and like all this other stuff. I'm not really sure, but I just don't think that I'm going to read this book. Now, I might look into Sophie Kinsella and like look into her other books because I know she is a popular author and a popular like romance author. So I still want to see if I can give her a try. I just don't think that I want this to be my introduction into her work. So the next two books here are written by the same author, and I'm just going to show them together, but they are The Sun Is Also a Star and Everything by Nicola Yoon. So I actually showed this in my last Unhaul video, which was 3 months ago, and I said at the end of the video that I'm still debating on if I wanted to get rid of these or not. I might keep them around, I'm not sure. So I did keep them on my shelf to see if I would pick them up, and I still have not picked these books up yet. So I'm just gonna give them away and give them to somebody that will read them and love them. I definitely do plan on reading more by Nicola Yoon at some point. I just don't really have any interest in reading these ones though. I did read her story or stories. I'm not really sure if she only had one or multiple because I haven't read the book in a while, but I did read the book Blackout, where there were 6 Black authors that collabed on it. So like Angie Thomas, Nicola Yoon, Danielle Clayton, etc. There were like other Black authors that collaborated on that collection of short stories, and Nicola Yoon was one of those authors, and I did enjoy the story that she wrote. So I do want to pick up something else by her, but I just don't think that I'm going to read these because I don't have any interest. But I will say that the cover art for both of these books, stunning. I will say that, like, absolutely stunning. But yeah, not really my vibe anymore. Now moving on to the second to last book in this pile, and it is Malibu Rising by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So as you guys can see, I do not have a dust jacket on this book, and that is because I did order this from Thrift Books, and I was under the impression that I was going to receive a dust jacket. I did not see anywhere in the description that I wasn't going to receive one. So when I got this book, I was very annoyed, but it's just one of those things where you have to charge it to the game because y'all know how Thrift Books can get. So because of that, I am just going to pick up a new edition of the book, or a used edition with at least the dust jacket, because I love the cover to Malibu Rising and I just think it looks so pretty, so I want to get it. I know that sounds so superficial, but I'm sorry, like, I want the dust jacket, okay? So I still plan on reading the book, just not from this edition, because why do we not have a dust jacket, Thrift Books? What's going on? What's really going on? And now moving on to the last book in this category. I feel like this one is going to make people look at me like I'm all types of crazy, but it has to be done, and I am unhauling The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. So before y'all come at me in the comments, hold on, because I know this book and Ali Hazelwood has a lot of stands, all right? I read this book last year and I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed The Love Hypothesis for the most part. There were some things about it that were a little bit weird and that were a little bit cringe, but for the most part I enjoyed it. I pushed through and I enjoyed it. And like I said, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. I thought the romance was cute, but it just isn't one of my favorite romances. I know that this is a lot of people's favorites, and this made it onto so many favorites lists of last year and like was in the #1 spot for so many people, but it just wasn't that for me. Like, this didn't even make it into my top 20. Like, it was a cute romance, and I understand why a lot of people love this book and why it is a lot of people's favorites, but it just wasn't my favorite. So I just rather give this away to someone that I know who will probably be very happy that they have it, and who will probably give it a 5-star rating and love it with all their heart. So yeah, that's the reason why I'm getting rid of it. But I did enjoy the story for what it was, and I do plan on reading more by Ali Hazelwood. I know she has, I think, like a few other stories that are already out or that are coming out, so I do plan on picking those up at some point. But yeah, oh gosh. Now moving on to thriller and horror. So like I mentioned before, I do have a lot of books in this category, so I'm gonna try to get through this a little bit quickly, but we will see how this goes. And the first book that I have in this pile is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. And I apologize if you guys can't really see the covers to all of these books. I do have my ring light on because the lighting outside is really weird, so like, just bear with me. The reason why I'm getting rid of this is just because I don't like this edition. I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm really one of those people where I just need a cute edition to read from. I'm so sorry, but it's the truth. These are the type of books that they give you in high school that you have to read from like assigned reading, and I'm just not with that anymore. I'm not with it, especially because I'm trying to build up my collection in my library. I want books that I of course enjoyed on my shelf, or that I want to read, that look nice, and that's all I want, okay? That's all I want. I do booktube. You guys can see my shelves in the background, and I just want the books to look cute, okay? Yeah, I just really don't like this edition. I got this from the thrift store for only $1, so that's why I picked it up. But this is heavily annotated, and I didn't realize that until I looked through it when I got home. But you can see right here, hopefully, like, whoever annotated this went to town, and I hope they got a good grade on whatever paper that they were probably writing on this book. But yeah, it's just not my favorite edition. The text is also very, very small, and yeah, I just know that there are nicer editions of Frankenstein, and I think I'm gonna get the Penguin Classics edition, so like the black, you know, spine and all of that stuff. I think I'm gonna get that one and read from there, because I do plan on reading Frankenstein at some point. I don't know when, but I would like to read it just to say that I read it, but also to form my opinion on it and see if I can really get into it. I'm not a sci-fi gal. That's really not my jam, but I want to give this a try because, like I said, it is a classic, and it is, I think, the first sci-fi book technically, so I want to give it a try. And also, I heard that Mary Shelley was, you know, kind of a badass, because she was like, what, only 18 or something like that when she wrote this book. So like, period, I gotta read it. I wanna read it and see what it's giving. The next book that I have in this pile is Final Girls by Riley Sager. So this is another book that I found at the thrift store. You guys are gonna hear this all throughout the video. Like, this is a reoccurring theme. A lot of these books I do get from the thrift store because they are so cheap, like I said, and it's easy to get sucked in. But this was another book that I got sucked in by. This was like one of the first like major like authors and books that I found at a thrift store, and I was really excited about it because I heard about Riley Sager when I first got into booktube and bookstagram, and I really wanted to read some of his works. I've only read one book by him so far, and it is Survive the Night, and it's one of my favorite books, period. I don't care. I love me some Survive the Night, okay? So I saw this and I, you know, picked this up and I was like, ooh, like I'm gonna give this a try. But I don't know why I picked this up because I am not a slasher girl. I don't know who I think I am, but I'm not a slasher girl. I literally only like 2 slasher movies, and those are Scream, the original. I didn't watch the new one yet, but Scream and Prom Night with Brittany Snow, and I think that came out in like 2006-7. That movie is camp and I love it. But I'm not really a slasher girl. I don't really like to see people getting tortured. I don't like seeing people, you know, get their limbs cut off or anything like that. That's not my thing. I'm not really into slasher movies or horror movies like that in general. So to read about it in a book in detail and like horrific and gory and graphic detail does not sit well with my spirit. I am one of those people that gets queasy and weak in the knees when I think about blood or when I see blood. So yeah, I just don't think that this book is going to do wonders for my stomach and I just don't think that this is going to be something that I'm really interested in. The next book that I have in this pile is Little Face by Sophie Hannah, and I don't know why I picked this one up, y'all. I think this was another thrift store find. Oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? This book is very weird from what I can tell from the synopsis, and when I first picked this up and I read it, I was like, ooh, this sounds like this is going to be really good, really obscure, very weird. And reading this now and like having evolving and like rapidly changing reading tastes, I just know that this does not fit into who I am today. Because I picked this book up about a year ago, and again, haven't felt inclined to pick it up. I'm probably going to return this to the thrift store I bought it from. The next book that I have here is The Circle by Dave Eggers, and honestly this is another book where I really don't know what this is about. This is another thrift store find, and I think this is like a tech like thriller horror book. I'm not really 100% sure. I know that this was like highly praised and highly regarded when it first debuted, and I know so many people really enjoyed this book, but again, not gonna pick it up. I've had this on my bookshelf for about a year, and every single time I look at it, I kind of just act like it's not there and I grab another book. So what does that tell you? It tells you that I need to get rid of it. And the next book that I have here is Under Lock and Skeleton Key by Gigi Pandian, and this book was actually gifted to me by Booksparks, so shout out to Booksparks. I am an ambassador for their spring reading challenge for 2022, so this is one of the books that I was sent, and like I said, I really appreciate it. But I'm not the biggest fan of cozy mysteries. I just don't really have any inclination or any like desire to pick up any cozy mystery books. It's just not really my jam. Something about them is a little bit off-putting to me. I don't know what it is. I can't put my finger on it, but I just don't like them. I've never read any of like El Casamino's books, so like the Finley Donovan series. I've never read any of that. I don't really have any intention to do so. I never read Arsenic and Adobo and all of those. It's just not my thing. So once I found out that this was like a cozy mystery, I already knew that this was going to be in my donated pile. So I'm so sorry, but like, it's just not my taste. And the next book that I have here in this pile is another cozy mystery, and it is The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. So this book actually made it onto my TBR card. Like, it got that far, so I really thought that I was gonna pick it up and read it, but honestly, every single time I look at my TBR card and I see this book, I act like it's not there. So yeah, I just don't have any desire again to pick this up. Not really cozy mystery gal. I do know that there are other books in this series, and I know people really love this, but again, just not my thing, so I'm sorry. Next book that I have here is The Night Shift by Alex Finlay. So if you guys have watched my March part 1 wrap up, you guys have heard me talk about this book in depth, so I'm not going to get into my full thoughts about this one, but just know that this was an unmemorable thriller for me. I think I gave this one about a 3 or a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I'm not 100% sure, but I already forgot pretty much like everything about this book. It just wasn't my favorite thriller, but I do know that a lot of people really love this one on Bookstagram in particular, and I think this does have a high rating on Goodreads, so maybe it was just a me thing, but yeah, it just didn't give what I thought it was going to give, so goodbye. The next book that I have here is another book that was featured in my March part 1 wrap up, and it is The Club by Ellery Lloyd. So again, I'm not going to go into my full thoughts about this book, but just know that this was an almost DNF child. I did finish it. Everybody clap. Okay. I did finish it. I got all the way to the end. I pushed through, I persevered, and I gave it a 2-star. So I don't know. I didn't really enjoy this one. I don't know if I will pick up anything else by this author duo, because there was just there was a lot that I did not like about this book. So just check out my March part 1 wrap up if you're interested in learning more about my thoughts. But yeah, it's a shame that I have to get rid of this one because I love the cover to this. I love the pink, I love the pool and like the dusk, the dawn, whatever, like sky in the back. Like, I just love this cover, but this book, I can't do it. I can't. Guys, we're almost done. Second to last book that I have here is The Shadow House by Anna Downs. So this was another book that was gifted to me by Booksparks. So thank you so much again, Booksparks. I was really excited about this book because I love the cover of this. This just looks so eerie, so unsettling, so creepy. So I just felt like this was going to be right up my alley. It sounded like it had paranormal elements involved, and like the title, The Shadow House, like, ooh, that sounds like good, right? Snatch. So I thought I was gonna really like this one, and I got about like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 chapters in, and the writing style just wasn't clicking with me. And also the 2 main characters were so unlikable and so annoying that I couldn't deal with it. And I said this before in my other videos that I'm one of the few that enjoys unlikable characters. It's just more fun when you're reading a story. I don't know how to explain it, but when it came to this book, these 2 characters I couldn't stand. It was a mother and her son, and they were both awful. They were just both awful. The son was a brat in every sense of the word, and he was so mean and so nasty to the mother, and he would get smart with her all of the time, and she would just let it go. She would not, like, you know, tell him not to say that, be nice, be kind. She would just let him get away with it. And also, her character just wasn't the most likable either, so I had to put a stop to the madness, and I decided to just DNF this book. I just didn't enjoy it. I wanted to know what direction this is going to go in, but I just couldn't get past the annoying characters. I have seen a few people praise this book on Bookstagram, but I have seen a few people give this low rating, so I don't really know. But if you are interested in the book, definitely look up the synopsis and give it a try. You might like it, who knows. And the last book that I have here in this Unhaul pile is The Violence by Delilah S. Dawson. So if you guys have watched my last huge book haul video, I will leave that linked up above or down below. But if you guys have watched that, then you guys have seen that I hauled this book in that video, and I also talked about this book in my March TBR. That's what it was, my March TBR video. A highly anticipated read for me, and I finally finished it. 400 and something pages later, child. I finally finished it. It was weird. I don't really know how to describe it. I'm going to get into my full thoughts in my April wrap up. I ended up actually switching to the audiobook halfway through because this book was just too damn long. I'm so sorry, but this book was so long and I just couldn't do it anymore. So I decided to listen to the audiobook, and I did enjoy that a lot more. And I did really like the narrator for that one. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that this book was going to be a lot different than what I anticipated. And again, that could just be a me thing. That could be my fault for assuming. But yeah, I don't know how to feel about this one. I did give this one a 3 out of 5 stars because I did like the overall themes and the overall message of the book, because it is a feminist novel. So I do like all of those themes and, you know, symbolism and all the important messages that are woven throughout the story. But when we got to the last half of the book, I just felt like it got really unserious and a little bit silly, and it kind of took me out of the story. Like I said, stay tuned for my April wrap up so that way you guys can check it out, because I did not finish this book in March. I had to take it into April. So yeah, just stay tuned for that video so that way you can learn more about my thoughts, but I will be getting rid of this one. All right, y'all, and those are all of the books that I plan on unhauling before I move into my new place. I'm really happy that I have a decent amount of books here. I still have a lot of books on my shelves that I'm gonna have to pack and sort through, and I can't handle it. But we're not gonna think about that right now. At least I found some books that I can get rid of and give, you know, a new home to, and hopefully the people that pick these up will enjoy them a lot more than I did, or for the ones that I did enjoy and just want to get rid of, I hope they enjoy them, period. I try to donate a lot of my books as much as possible. I do know that like Pango Books exists and like Depop, so I could sell these, but like honestly, I don't really have time. I waited until the last minute to really like unhaul all of this stuff, and I don't have time to wait for people to buy it and then ship it out. Like, I just want to get rid of all this stuff. So we'll be donating it, but maybe in the future I will create a Pango Books account and, you know, sell books on my Depop and all of that. But for now, they will just get donated, and we love that. We love recycling and reusing, period. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Definitely make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. It really helps me my channel out. And lastly, please make sure you follow me on Bookstagram as well as Storygraph. I will leave all of that information linked down below, as well as at the end of the video, like I always do. I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!